Okay, so that brings us to layers. So here's my layers here. If you wanted to turn a layer off, you just hit the little eyeball. Let's put layer 1 up here. And layer 1 is just going to be color. We're just going to play around with color here. Let's find some dirt, and let's make that dirt brown. And as you can see, we can just go to town and make some dirt, right? I can turn it on and off, excuse me, simply with the eyeball here. Now, if I wanted to, I could bring on the height map. I could turn the color off, and I could also do something like this instead. So what's cool about this, in fact, let's create a completely new layer. This is a folder, add smart material, add a fill layer, add a paint layer. That's what this is. So I'm going to delete this layer, layer 1. I'm going to hit the trash icon and it'll go away. And now with layer 2, all I want to do is play around with the height. And I still have that dirt brush. But now what I have are these weird, it looks kind of like a diseased speckle. Something's eating away at my box. Oh my gosh. And of course, once again, you could play around with the flow. So now with the flow decreased of my brush, you'll notice that the bumps are not quite so high. We could play around with size, right? You play around with the size of the brush. And remember, we can also play around with spacing. So we could do something like this. Little ants. And so you can get some really fun and cool effects by using the layers. It's very similar to Photoshop here. Okay, once again, if you wanted to delete a layer, you can very easily hit the trash can up here. All right, so let's go over a few other things in settings. So we played around with brushes a little bit. Let's go to materials. And let's find a material that we can use here. So this is iron. And as you notice, if you just hover your cursor over any of these materials, the great thing about this is you get a preview, a larger preview of this. So this iron galvanized, I think I like the iron raw damage. So I'm going to just put this up here, and that's going to act as, excuse me, a fill. So we have that here. And we can change around the scale. So if I scroll up under my property, so we have a scale 1:1. And so if I increase the scale, as you can see, it's a scale, it's a tileable texture, so it tiles. So if I did 3, this is what it would look like. It was 1, so let's look at 1 again, right? We could do 2. I think I liked 3. Let's just try 4. 4. It's a very it's a beat up box. That box is it's pretty beat up. 3 is a little bit more subtle, but I think I like 2 just fine. All right, so we picked 2, so you can tile. You can rotate. Right now it's at 0. If I wanted to rotate my texture, I could do that. And I can offset it. It's 0 to 0 right now, but I could offset it both horizontally and vertically. Okay, so the other thing, I'm going to put it back to 0. And by the way, tab, that's the keyboard shortcut to just show your 3D view. And 0. Okay, so things we can do, we can play around with the color. So we could go to the color. Right now it's gray. We can make it red if we wanted to. And remember, Control Z will undo things. There's also technical parameters. So we could come here and we could play with the normal intensity, the height range. Right now it's 0.3. But as you can see, we can bring it down or we can bring it up. I think 0.3 was just fine. But if that's too bumpy, you could, or too lumpy, you could bring it down to 0.2. Oh, I don't want 30. Okay. The height position, all these things. So I would look and see if you have technical parameters, because that's great. There's surface grain. Right now it's 1. I could bring it down. Here's the roughness. So the roughness is 0.45, and it's pretty shiny. So we can bring that roughness value up a little bit, and all of a sudden it's less reflective and shiny. Or we could bring it down. And if I hit Control Z, it'll undo. So 0.45 I think was the default. So we could bring it up a bit if we didn't want it quite so glossy. So that's how you affect these default parameters here. So this gives us a nice base. Okay, so we have a color ID map. What is that? How do we use that? I do want to show you that in this intro video. So if you right mouse press on this layer, you'll see you have all of these options pop up. You get a marking menu that pops up, and you can create black mask, white mask, and masks with color selections. So this is my color ID, and I can do the color picker here. Let's go to my 3D and 2D view, and I'm going to click the blue. And so I just selected the blue, and what it did was it cut out everything that is blue in color, my color ID map, for me, which is really great. So it makes it really super easy to do those things. So if I wanted some other kind of material for this, let's see, maybe wood would be kind of funky. But we could always do it. Maybe it's plastic. Maybe there's some crazy plastic that's fabric. Concrete, we have carbon fiber. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, let's do carbon fiber. So I'm going to just bring that up just because it's really weird. And I am going to right mouse press and go to add mask with color selection. I'm going to go to my color picker here, and yeah, let's do carbon fiber for the yellow area. And so now what we can do is we can play around with that. We can play around with the scale, right? Because it was pretty big. Zoom in. Yeah, it's yeah. So now we have this as carbon fiber, and it's very easy to change that to some other. So you know, I also have here, there's this iron diamond. Well, let's see what that looks like. And let's turn off carbon fiber, and let's add mask with color selection, pick this color and go to the yellow again. And now we're going to select our actual texture and scale it. And of course we can zoom in to see what it looks like. It's pretty cool. It's the metal, it's the roughness, it's the height. So we can actually get rid of the height here. Or what we could do is we can, you know, play around with that. We can also play around with the pattern of the tile. So this also makes it smaller. So, you know, maybe I bring the scale back down to 1, right? And I go down here to the pattern and tile the pattern this way. So this is 3:3. And now what I can do with the scaling of the UVs is I actually get a better effect now. It's not as lumpy. So once again, always check to see if there's parameters that you can play around with. Let's make this 10. Nope, not 128. There we go. So we have this as 10. And I don't need this carbon fiber anymore, so I'm going to delete it. Now, one of the other things I want to show you very briefly before we wrap up this particular video is how you can group things. So this iron damaged here is, we're going to put this in a file folder. So I'm going to create a file folder, and this is going to be, if you double click, you can rename it. This is going to be box main body color. So we know that this is the main color of the main body color of the box. And this is actually not in here, so I just dragged it in, and there we go. I tested it. So if you turn off your group and nothing happens, then you don't have anything in it. So you just drag and drop things into groups. So this is the iron raw damaged. And so within this, I can create other things. So if I want, I can create another layer in here. And maybe that layer is rust or something like that. So we could go to maybe our grunges. We could do some fun things with that. But let's go to brushes. And let's see what kind of brush we have. Ooh. That's foliage. We don't need that. Ooh. Got tire tracks. I'm looking for rust. And you can also do a search. So I'm just going to do a search for rust and type in R-U-S-T. Didn't really work. There is dirt, so dirt might work. There's crazy cracks, which is pretty cool. There's some spatters. I kind of like this spatter brush, but no, let's see. There's sandpaper, that's cool. Jackson Pollock, there's spots, stitches, and what is this? Let's look up here. I think I'm going to use something that has dirt in here because I kind of like the dirt. There's dirt 1 and there's dirt 2. So this is dirt 1. And I am only going to be playing with the color of dirt 1, well, maybe a little bit of the height. I am going to be playing around with several different colors, so we're going to go kind of in the reddish orange, right, for rust. And there's several ways that we can do this. So you can do rust either kind of like this. Oops, let's actually turn off the height. And yeah. Right? And so we can like paint things this way, right? And remember, you can hit Control Z to undo. We can make the size smaller, right, and get in the nooks and crannies. There's better ways of doing that, but that's a little bit more advanced. Now the other thing that we could do is we could actually use a fill. So you can hand paint it in, or we can go to our materials, and I know there was rust here, and here rust fine. So we're going to put the rust up here, and that rust is going to fill up everything. And we are going to create a black mask so that we don't see anything. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to use our paintbrush, and as you can see, we have white and we have black. If there's black, you're not going to see anything. If there's white, suddenly things are revealed. So we can go back to our brushes and we can actually use a brush. So here's another dirt brush, and we're still on our mask, and what we can do is we can kind of paint in that rust this way, right? And if that's too big, sorry, I'm undoing, we can make the rust smaller. Right? So we've got some rust that we're showing here. And there we go. So rust is, it's peppering the area. And like I said, we can use different brushes here. Here's a different brush. it's going to give us a different effect. All right, so those are some simple basics and a simple intro to Substance Painter. I hope you found all of this very useful and helpful. Tune in to some of my further videos that I'll be creating where we'll delve more into Substance Painter and its how you can use it. Until next time, I'm Maya Andreasen. Bye-bye.